everybody? Welcome to the Luke Show. We have a kind of a different type of podcast, I guess, today. I've assembled some of the greatest minds that I've come across, and we're just going to go through like a lot of news, maybe some culture stuff connected with sports, but bridging outside of sports, I guess you could say. College football is coming up, and the first thing we want to talk about today was the poly market gambling, kind of insane stuff going on here. Sev, I'll let you start off with this. Just walk us through what's going on here with this scenario.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us on, Luke.
Of
Appreciate
course.
you locked in on the show lately. You guys been doing great work. Just want to lead off that anything I say here does not represent the views of my employer. This is all straight Seth. But yeah, I mean, if you guys probably gotten a break this summer, if you guys thought you were getting a break from gambling ads, I feel like it's only been worse this summer. And I haven't really been watching sports much, but I still feel like I'm seeing ads for gambling, these projection market things in every facet of life. I thought maybe, being tuned out of sports for a little bit would help with that. But I especially have a problem with these projection markets. Honestly, less because of sports, but their effect on like our actual political landscape, how it goes. And then obviously, they have the sports component, but I just feel like the gambling stuff has been shoved down our throats since the beginning. They're the only people in America making money right now. Only company that's profiting are gambling companies and these projection markets. So it makes sense that they have ads just throughout every sporting event, political, on the news. We're trying to watch election coverage, and it's just being bombarded with Kalshi odds. Now, disclaimer, I don't really gamble. I've always been too poor to gamble. I've been a little bit of a homer, so I don't want to, bet against my teams ever. So I'm not really involved in this, but I see what it has affected my fellow young man here, especially this demographic on the call here
Well,
is the
please check out the most recent Luke Show episode where we go through the NBA over under gambling odds and give out locks.
sorry. Like I said,
No, I'm just, but I think you make a good point because it's gotten unbelievable the way some people gamble, especially like young men, like completely like off the rails and like don't gamble responsibly at all.
Yeah, I have no faith. I have all the faith in guys like you, Caden, because measured, experienced gamblers. But I mean, these whales just get took. And the whales are less like the 60-year-old CEO who's just dropping millions, but now they're just getting fucking Jimmy from 19 years old from Georgia to just empty the life savings, like just cook.
I was not paying attention in Econ 101. Instead, he's on Kalshi.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
There is like a really strong intertwining between like the federal government, poly market, prediction markets, and sports. I mean, like the most recent thing that I saw was like the Heat uploaded like a video to their YouTube that was like a LeBron signing day presser or something, and then they like pretty quickly deleted that. But I mean,
I think they
I think
fired the
every
person who did
They
that
fired the
too.
person the next day. Yeah, they
Yeah.
posted it on LinkedIn for the
a,
position.
a lot of people were just saying that that was like, you know, I haven't looked to see like how the odds shifted after they posted that, but I'm sure that as soon as they posted that, a number of people went straight to these prediction markets and quickly put a, you know, sum of money on him going to the Heat. Um,
Absolutely.
which, you know, you could kind of just say like anytime you see something that's like a little bit wonky like that, go ahead and fade that line. Because it's kind
Yeah.
of crazy. But I mean Trump just is like selling access to his tweets now, I think, like
Well, I
ahead of
haven't heard
time.
about that. What's
I
going
think
on?
I think I think on like Truth Social, he's introducing like kind of like an elevated like gold membership or something where you get access to the truths early or something like that.
Oh, you can pay
Which
to
moves
get quicker
markets,
to his
yeah.
tweets. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad you
Well,
Yeah.
brought that up, Corey. I feel like the first time I saw the this in sports was when Giannis made like a
Yes.
statement and he signed with Kalshi or Polymarket, one of the ones. I mean, then I saw a tweet the other day referencing the Heat situation. It was like, I wonder in about a few years, like how much of this stuff behind the scenes was all to just move the Kalshi odds just a little bit. You
Probably
see it.
because that was probably like one of the most bet on things was Giannis's next team, and then he's like like a partnership with him. It is crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, and people who defend it will say that, oh, it's your money, you're choosing to do this. I mean, these have real life consequences. Sports, as we know, touches every facet of American life, of global life. The globe loves hoops now anymore. I just feel like these companies just do everything they can to just turn it into a game. I mean, it is a game, but it's not like that. It's not like that, you know.
It,
To that
yeah.
point, like turning everything into a game, it's like the sports betting culture was almost like the soft launch into this idea that like if you do research, all of a sudden you can monetize your opinion versus somebody else's opinion. And that's where the slippery slope appears with this whole scenario. Because I think as we've had all of these betting platforms and everything jammed down our throat, now I think it's only, especially for this younger generation, as we've talked about, like 25 and under, where you're still kind of forming your opinions on what adult life is. If that's ingrained as the norm to go ahead and bet on your team, what difference does it make if you're betting on the president of a country or if you're betting on what happened with like Maduro or something like that? You know, it just kind of normalizes all of this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead, Corey.
it feels impossible to regulate. I mean, like insider trading, insider information sharing. It seems like it's, impossible to just control like the separation of the person ultimately, that the line is set on whatever it may be. If it's, someone going to a team, if it's somebody getting a set number of assists. Like I don't know how many NBA players last year were caught up in like point shaving or point fixing. I think that I remember like a couple of them
Mm.
getting. I don't know if it was like a permanent ban, but
Yeah, Jonte
um,
Porter for the Raptors was banned.
That whole Chauncey Billups situation.
Yeah.
it's
Um,
happening in college
mm.
sports as well. I mean, the kid from Texas Tech, or that wanted to go to Texas Tech. Um,
Oh, Sorsby.
Sorsby, yeah,
Hmm.
and now he can't play in the NFL
What was the deal with
apparently.
him? How many bets was he placing a day at his like peak?
Dozens.
It was like hundreds, right?
He was going and betting like in baseball games, just betting balls and strikes. Like, I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's some Nick Helmick behavior.
Hey,
Nick, if you're listening, comment.
yeah. One thing I'll say, if Corey wants to finish, it's just like the further the gamification of American life. I mean, this a whole every under Trump, and his administration and everybody that he puts over his age, everything's like a gimmick and a game and a meme and like a comeback. I'm trying to think of a better word, but basically it's like, Republicans' whole deal is just being like, "Ooh, gotcha,"
So it's
but
all
Mm.
a gotcha
they've
game,
pretty
right?
much given up on that. Now they're just like, it's all a gimmick. You're not smart if you can't figure this out. If you're not winning millions, what are you doing? And then people hear that, young men hear that, and then they're pushed down that path. I mean, it's really dangerous, in my
No,
opinion.
yeah, I think the gambling companies like Kalshi, I think Kalshi and the polymarkets are so much worse than like I'm not saying DraftKings and FanDuel are like good companies, but the way that they make it seem like, oh, this will be so easy to win, like this is a sustainable way to like make money, and it's just so untrue. And you're right, like you make a good point about like the way it's made to feel like a game or like yeah. I saw a thing that was on the Daily Show, I think, about Trump, and it was like Donald Trump is doing something for healthcare. Just kidding. He's trying to sell a gold coin. And that's just like pretty much like their Republican like strategy. I feel like it's really weird, like the way
Yeah,
things are
I don't
going.
want to home too in on the parties and
Hmm.
specific, party in charge right now because everybody has faults. But I mean, it is just Trump and his guys right now just running every kind of corruption scheme you can think of. So it fits in well with what these two prediction markets and the like are trying to do to the country because it's exactly what they're. It's just the other side of the coin.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the most recent thing they're doing with the on three with the you know more about this, Seven. I think
Oh
yeah.
yeah, the on three.
Hmm.
If I remember, yeah, on three they get, they're a paid subscriber. companies. So you pay them, you find out what athletes are moving in which direction towards which school. These guys are tapped in with the sources. I mean, you can't even you think about it for 2 seconds how things can go wrong. An athlete from somewhere has school A and school B. They tell the on 3 representative that they're going to this school, they're leaning this way. The polymarket odds reflect that, or Kalshi, whatever it is, and then the whole family fades school B. They put all their money there. Kid goes to school B. There you go. And it's like, are there victims here? I think so. I think this is all bullshit. I think
Yeah.
like, oh, they made out, they made money on who? I'm like, it's just like, sure, but I think there are victims in all this. I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's getting off scot free.
Yeah, it's not like the if you invested like in Hawk Tuah coin, you got really no one to blame but yourself if you got like rug pulled on that. But if you're just like some high school kid and you, because I remember in high school we would all watch like hoop mixtapes or Ball is Life stuff, and you'd be like, I want to know where this or Seventh Woods is going, and he might be like, he might tweet like, I'm going to NC State, and you're like, okay, I can just bet on this now that he's going to go there, and then he just completely flips, and you're like, who's regulating that? That's not like some sort of like scheme or like organized thing within these markets and the players.
Well, and that's the problem is that we're already so deep into it with it not having any kind of parameters to it that now the actors that are involved, they get to move the goalposts in whatever direction. So like I learned so first off, the founder of Polymarket is only 27 years old now.
Oh wow.
So talking about like this demographic that this is really capturing, it's like his own baby project almost. It's like some nerd from New York City, but like as a 26 now 27-year-old male, that is like everything that he's witnessed with Trump for the last 8 years. Like these are the formative years of his life. And on top of that, Don Trump Jr. is on the advisory board of Polymarket. So not only is there no regulation, if regulation is to move forward, the ones who are orchestrating that are making sure that the rules are in their favor, which with how deep it already is, we already know, like as Sub said, obviously there's gonna be no winners from this except for those at the very top, like everything else. So it's just like it's scary to think about where it's gonna go because if you're gonna have such a beast of an idea, especially with tying together this already like opaque concept with crypto and the blockchain and then tying that together with Polymarket, like it's all such fucking bullshit.
It's so pervasive. Like it's every really just every realm, and cash has ruled everything around us in this country, I feel like for a while, but it's like there's, the sanctity of college sports is like one thing that you can talk about. I think like some sports like the NBA or even the NFL, professional sports have been a bit of a circus for some time, maybe, and that's fine. That's kind of what they're designed to be around. But I think like college sports are, to me, supposed to be like just a little bit more clean. And teams have kind of bought wins, I think, for a while now, depending on, what team you support or whatever. But it's just, it really does feel like so pervasive whenever we're talking about like the MAC, like the Middle America Conference possibly, um, just dissolving itself because they can't get enough money. There's not enough viewers, there's not enough support. Conference that's been there since like 1945. And I wish that I could like really sit down and it's like, yeah, I'm sure like David Foster Wallace could like write his, an entire new Infinite Jest on if he was like a sports fan, I don't think he really would have been, but
That would
it
be
does
awesome.
it
Yeah.
does take like an like that amount of words to kind of like sum up to me everything, just to encapsulate all of it, because it is all kind of interconnected and pervasive. This like spider's web of like betting and top dollar, kind of like the dollar ruling everything, like to hell with um what's right or like how a system should actually operate. I don't know, it's hard to summarize, I think, in a really succinct way, other than it's just kind of gross
No, well,
and it's got a lot of momentum. Yeah.
I think a lot of people would say like their favorite thing about college sports is like the players are kind of playing for the love of the game. And it's different than the pros where it's like, I don't know, us being from West Virginia, like it's, WU is like our obviously our team and we are like so passionate because it's like it's where we're from and they represent like a bigger idea of like pride in your state and they're doing this for like our state. And yeah, you lose that in pro sports. And it is kind of like we've all would have always agreed that the athletes should be getting paid for like playing sports based on how much money they're going to make for like the schools. But it feels like this was moving that way and you could sense it coming and the NCAA had no plan of like how to implement this the right because it's the right way because it's just like such the Wild West now about like who signs where. Go ahead, Tim.
Well, I think that like we as like humans like hold sports to like a certain level of sanctity. Like it almost should be untouchable. Like this is like the purity of however you want to describe it. But like these betting markets and prediction markets, they challenge that sanctity directly, and especially that sanctity like within the realm of college sports, it's almost compounded because like you said, these are just kids who are living out their dreams. There's like before money was really involved, like it was only for the love of the game, and now. As Corey mentioned, like we've lived in a world where cash rules all, and now it's just like weird because like cash itself is being contorted in all these different weird ways, And so now there's just like this idea of like get rich quick. You can go down so many different avenues to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no. Yeah.
I'm glad Corey and Tim, you guys were able to draw the line from what we were talking about, like into sports, like very clearly. I mean, just going back to the MAC, they added Sacramento State, a school nowhere near Ohio, in
Yeah.
Northern California. I mean, it's the same reason the ACC got the two California schools, SMU, is because they could afford to throw all the money in the world at these guys just to take them. And if it kills your conference, so what? Where the top line doesn't move, that's all that matters. So just going back to the market stuff, I was like, we can't have any regulations. Like people are like, oh, it's the free market, it's capitalism, which is America. It is what it is. I respect the hustle. But that doesn't mean we can't have any regulations, like any sense. I mean, that goes to anything we debate in America. It's like there can't be some rules to this, just protecting some things that we hold dearly, like sports, like college sports.
Yeah, I don't understand the NCAA like how they operate in any way because it feels so there's no uniformity of like any ruling that they have. Like they just in college basketball on August just released like 80 players back into the portal who would have thought they were gone. It's just like it is such a mess and it's I don't really it really feels to get more on a sports topic like the SEC and Big Ten are like gonna just succeed from the NCAA because there's no one the NCAA has like no governing body, like it's just not in charge of anything. So yeah, it'll be, and it does all feel kind of connected into this thing. I was thinking about the Damon Williams situation in Washington last year during the portal where he was going to leave. I forget where to LSU. I can't. Do you remember?
I remember that. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
remember.
I mean, he was gone. Like he like literally said they're gone in Washington's like you violated this contract. You have to play here. And it was like kind of the first instance of that happening.
Yeah. So last point on that is it was on the NCAA if they put a collective bargaining agreement in place 2 decades ago and gave the kids minimum wage, we wouldn't have all this. That's the reason all these court cases are able to succeed because there's no binding agreement between the workers and the workplace, which is what's going on. So like and then the NIL stuff, I feel like the regular average Joe could get behind it when it happened. They're like, yeah, if they should be getting paid. Yeah, if they sell a jersey. Like when did just like making money off a jersey sale or being able to get proceeds from EA sports video games turn into like you got to pay me 10 mil or I'm not coming. Like they're not doing anything for it. It's just like, and that's because there was no bargaining agreement in place that's allowed to happen. And then my faith in the judicial system of the country I didn't like think about it before, but I'm like Scott Van Pelt talks about it a lot. He's like, yeah, any athlete can just find some judge who will just grant it. I mean, have you seen this thing about the Little League World Series and the Oklahoma team?
Oh no, this sounds awful though.
So this like the Tulsa Little League, which is the Little League World Series going on right now. They basically cheated the rule, allegedly cheated the rules to make like a super team combined of like the best players in like central Oklahoma. So like not anybody born in the Tulsa Little League district, but they got a rule to where like if your sibling plays in the league, you can play with league everyone. So they invented a fake challenger division. Allegedly, if anybody knows what the challenger division is, these are the special needs kids who are up to 18 that can play baseball. So they faked a whole league because one of the kids' stars has a brother that has autism or something. So they like made up that he played in this, and they won Oklahoma State championship. They made it all the way to the regional final. Little League caught wind of it, kicked them out. Some judge in Oklahoma granted the TRO, the restraining order, which is basically what is thrown off all of college sports are these temporary rulings, which you can rule those in a week or two, and then the actual court case doesn't come back for another year because the judicial calendars are hell. The judges set their own schedule. So now they were forcing Little League to play like Texas West, who won and is going to Williamsport, already left. The judge said that they have to come back and play that Oklahoma team, and they said, "Fuck you, we're going home." I don't. A game's supposed to be tonight, but the ESPN broadcast crew already left. The people getting the field ready already left. The teams already left, and just this judge could come in with this. So
That's
we have
insane.
three
That
branches of
is
government
insane.
hanging up, but I'm like, if one can operate just completely unabashed,
Just
like
impunity, pure
like, what are you doing?
impunity.
Yeah, yeah. So that was my last point on that.
No, I did not know anything about that story.
I
That is
just read
just
it today when I was supposed to be working.
that's insane. I cannot. So they're the Oklahoma team. They're done. Like they're not. No
I
one's gonna
think they
play
said
them.
they were supposed to play. Yeah, some judge was like, "Actually, you guys got to play another game tonight." And I was like, "Who? I enforce it." Not to be
Yeah,
like Andrew Jackson and the Supreme Court thing around the Native Americans, but yeah, I'd like to see this judge come and tell me to play baseball.
that's
Tell me
all.
I'm not going to play sport. And Little League is back in the Texas team. They're like, we kicked out this Oklahoma
Yeah, they
team
should.
because some homer judge, and it's what you see in all these Texas schools. And we
Well,
don't have room to throw, rocks in a glass house because some of the most influential NCAA cases of all time came out of West Virginia in our previous ruling. So I get it. We're throwing stones a little bit, but I feel like back then it was warranted. This Sean Alston, NCAA, EA, that was warranted. The
no, that
rain
yeah,
battle
definitely
thing was
was.
bullshit. I feel like we've been hitting pretty well. The things we're doing now, like with Scruggs and Eddie Kelly, like now we're just doing what everybody else is doing. But
Well, it's just like if you know that you could just complain to a judge and get a good player to come back, fuck, if everyone else is doing like you said, why not? The Oklahoma thing reminds me of how Sorsby's like case was just like a Lubbock
yeah,
judge.
just exactly. It doesn't matter. It's just if your local homer judge decides something, they're basically got. I
Yeah.
mean, see it with the Supreme Court. Like if the Congress got together and decided to regulate polymarket calci, these bought and paid for Republican judges would just strike it down, and then there's nothing they could do about it. Like
Fuck,
they just
man.
grant the order and then rule. I mean,
Yeah, and that shit goes all the way to the top. Like what you're talking about reminds me of the whole Balogun situation during the World Cup. Trump decided that he didn't like what was going on. He stepped in. The rule was reversed, or the suspension was suspended. So
Yeah.
yeah, whatever loophole you want to find, they'll find it,
I
or
just got
they'll make one, a new
Yeah,
one.
just make a new rule. I just got like a massive wave of like existential dread when Seb was talking about this. Basically, it's like we're all fucked, really. And the powers that be, we can't cause any amount of change. What could you do to like save the NCAA? Like it would be a nightmare if like the SEC and Big Ten just created like
let's
their
see.
own
I'm
conference.
sure Corey could probably talk a little bit about what happens if the SEC and Big Ten wallow themselves up, like you, Luke, like you just said.
Hmm.
If he wanted to jump in here, I'm sure. I think he would have a good. I've heard him talk about this before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading this article on ESPN unfortunately yesterday. And it was so some of this is like not really all that new. I was really kind of interested to learn about the dissolution or the merger between like the Big Eight and the Southwest Conference. It was originally just supposed to be Texas and Texas A&M that were leaving, I think, the Big Eight, and then Texas Tech and Baylor were only brought into that because like the lieutenant governor at the time had gone to Texas Tech, and then the governor had gone to Baylor, and they basically forced the hand of Texas and Texas A&M to say like, no, if you guys leave, you're taking them with you, or nobody's leaving the conference at all. And then Houston, I think TCU, like these other smaller schools, SMU, Rice, they all got left behind in the dust because they didn't have any representation. I guess in this case, the governor's house rather than, in the courtroom. But yeah, that was just kind of an aside that I was like interested to learn about. And that was in 1996. So um, some of it, I think, behind closed doors has kind of been happening for a long time, and now it's just out into the light. But yeah, I mean the Big Ten, I mean the bill that was in the House or the Senate up to get voted Protect College Sports Act or whatever, which basically would have like capped these super conferences at 19 schools, and also said that unless you left your conference within 120 days of the bill passing, you had to be independent for 5 years, which
Ooh,
in terms of like scheduling TV revenue. Like I don't even know how you could form a schedule
I think you
with
would lose a
any,
ton of money if you
you
were
would lose,
independent. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, anybody other than Notre Dame with like an NBC contract is going to have a pretty tough time, I would think. Just these other conferences are going to kind of turn their back to them. Like even if you're like a team like Texas, if you're not in the SEC, if you're not in any conference at all, you're going to get kicked to the wayside pretty quickly, I feel like, and you're going to end up just playing, whoever's left to schedule. But it is definitely like, capping the conferences at 19. The bill isn't going to get voted for or passed in its current state, but it was pretty much written for the SEC and the Big Ten. I mean, you look at the states that represent those schools, it's kind of a big majority, yeah, of the states that at least care about college football enough. It's not as if like California, who has maybe a decent amount of sway, could really give much of a hoot about college football other than like USC and UCLA, and they're kind of sitting just fine. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it
Mm.
kind of weighs on me all the time. Like 10 years down the road, I'm like, where are we going to be? Where is West Virginia going to be from an athletic
Yeah.
standpoint? To
I'm
be
glad
honest,
you
I wouldn't really mind if we're not playing for a national championship or even in a position to do so if we're left with, Louisville and Pitt and Virginia Tech and teams that are like regionally historic to us. But then you say that and you're like, okay, well, the media rights for that conference maybe aren't massive. I mean, there's not a ton of big markets that I just mentioned or that would be left over for us to play. And then you look at the MAC, who is now kind of looking at dissolution, and you're like, okay, I mean, are
Well,
they
the
even going to be able to
Pac-12 just was.
fund? Yeah, the Pac-12. I mean, are they
Mm.
even going to be able to fund? I think our media rights from the Big 12 is something like 60 million a year. That funds a lot at our university. I don't think it funds more than like football. So I don't know. It's just more haves and have-nots, honestly.
I'm glad you mentioned two of those things there for the Save College Sports Act. I've been watching some of Rich Rod's pressers, and it's kind of funny to see these guys who are a little tapped out of the political world. I don't do the journalism anymore, but I'm still very tapped in to what's going on at the congressional level. And it's like thinking that he's like, oh yeah, I think we got some things in there we like, think we'll get it passed. It's like these guys, the Congress is fundamentally broken. It's why the judicial branch of the government is running so wild. Is because in civics class you learn that Congress, if three-fourths or two-thirds can agree on something, they can overturn the act of a legislature. With like how they tried to codify Roe when they had to codify abortion, knowing that it would get turned over. Um, it's just like no agreement at all from anything. And in the NCAA, all these college coaches expecting the federal government, Congress to come bail them out. I mean, you guys got to be fucking stupid to think that these guys will get anything done. I mean,
Hmm.
and then it just goes back to because you got to check their pocketbooks. How many of them are making money from Kalshi and Polymarket and have that going on top of that? And then the actual point I wanted to make here, Corey, especially, was when you mentioned like what's going to be WVU 10 years down the road. And that's where like the average Joe can step in and be like, yeah, I care about West Virginia. I've loved WVU sports since I was a kid. I mean, what's the point of all this? I think you could have got people NIL, small NIL donors on board a couple years ago, and it was like, hey, let's get this guy, making money for his jersey. We'll get this guy a Toothman Ford deal, whatever. You get him in a commercial. And it's like now the average fan is like, I don't want to give you money because I don't know where it's gonna go, and I don't know if I want to keep supporting this because I don't. And where's it gonna be in 10 years? And it's like it's either like Corey's dream scenario is that like we're playing regional opponents, but not for like any huge thing other than regional dominance. And like there's no trophy at the end, and then it's like I like that. As long as it's a regional, I think I'd take that. But why do we have to choose?
The
Yeah.
small, the real quick to jump in, the small donors point is interesting too because you have the idea that you're investing for the long term, but within this environment, the long term is going to look drastically different than what you think you're investing in that moment, you know?
No, yeah, it's so like I couldn't even imagine like 5 years ago thinking that Pac-12 would be gone. We don't have Pac-12 after dark anymore. Like I don't know anyone who thinks that college football in its current state is better than it was like 10 years ago.
Is anything better than it was 10 years ago at
Not,
this
I don't
point?
think
Fucking
one
like
thing,
anything?
not one thing is better
Thought
than
about
Yeah,
I
no.
was like, what if we could do like a podcast series title? I would call this the Hellscape because we have the Hellscape series. I was like, I'd like at some point for us to talk about something positive, but I'm like, what has been better in the last 10 years? I mean, there's nothing.
it's like on every level. Like even like fast food restaurants are just like gray and brown and like I remember I saw a tweet. It was like this is the kids' play zone now at McDonald's, and it was just like an iPad taped to a wall. It's just like yeah, everything's just gotten so much fucking worse.
Yeah, and if you're like us that, pay attention and watch how things move, we can draw the line from poly market to Trump corruption to Congress, lack of congressional. You can draw the line pretty much. This is all coming from like private capital. And you saw the Big 12 get back into sports. All the Big 12 school, even Utah, said no, we don't want in on this private capital deal because once you let these private capital guys in, they'll sell you for parts as soon as they can. And you're seeing that with youth sports. There's a really good More Perfect Union documentary released recently about like youth sports in the Bronx. And it's like like us growing up Elkins, Lewisburg, and youth sports are kind of all right there at the field. It's like the costs are getting more. But like if you're growing up in the Bronx and you're just getting priced out by these private capital companies that have taken over the youth sports league, I mean you could draw that line from the bottom of from the streets of society all the way to the top. That's what I was trying to say.
Absolutely. We're about to run out of time. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back. Yeah, we were just talking in the break about like, Indiana being kind of this underdog story. And then what'd you say, Sev? They had $50 million in private
Yeah,
capital money. Yeah.
50 million from a donor. It wasn't even and now Cubans in. Mark Cubans in. This was before they went and
Hmm.
got from another donor. And which I think the last point I'll make on the SEC Big Ten stuff and why you're seeing kind of the dominance go from the SEC to the Big Ten is because now that all this money's in play, like who do you think has deeper pockets? I mean, these really rich Big Ten Midwestern, I mean, just cultural stalwarts. I mean, they just are swimming in money because they went to a good school and are the whole family's doctors, they're wealth management firms. Whereas these SEC graduates, I mean, they'd be lucky to own like a car dealership. That's like the best for them. So that's why I think you see these big, like the public Ivies, whatever they want to call themselves. I mean, they're churning out smart people who make money. They didn't even need to, Indiana didn't even tap into their biggest alumni base to win that last championship.
Oh yeah, was Cuban not involved really last
No,
time?
he didn't
Yeah.
even. Yeah, he's now he's involved after they won
Yeah.
the championship. So now they're only going to get. So I mean, all respect to Sig and what he did on the field, but let's
Hmm.
not pretend like there was some complete underdog.
No, yeah, I mean, it's a great point. Yeah. I mean, I wonder what their payroll was. Did they even release like college football
Yeah, and
payrolls?
I was watching some fucking Barstool clip the other day about some for trying to guess like the top 10 college payrolls. Indiana not in there. It's
Okay.
the well, so respect to them.
Hmm.
But it's like LSU and Texas, and it's either SEC, Big Ten, Notre Dame, shit like that.
Hmm. Yeah. Dang. So yeah, we were on getting into like youth public sports, right? I want to talk more about that. So yeah, I forget where did we end off just now at the end of this segment? I cannot remember the last segment.
I was saying that private capital has bought up a lot of these like city sports.
Hmm.
It's a little bit different than where we grew up, but if you're, now these the documentary was about these Bronx sports leagues that used to be low cost and publicly funded, things like that have been bought out by private capital. You see a lot of these private capitals trying to buy up like community centers, things like that. They used to take it off the public's dime, because they're pretty costly to operate. But it's like this is the thing that we want to socialize. I mean, not to be full on socialist communist here, but is youth sports not something that we hold sacred? I mean, can we not be putting money towards this instead of just bombing Iran?
Yeah, no, yeah, you're so right. Like it makes Tim, you probably would be good to speak about this. Like I feel like that's the reason soccer is such like the global sport because it's like the cheapest to play and anyone can just go out and play soccer. And it is so like we would all agree that sports are like so important for like all of us in our own lives and just like kids growing up, not even just to like exercise, but to like build a sense of community. I think you learn how to like be a person and interact with people through sports. So I didn't really ask you a question, Tim. Maybe you could just talk about.
Yeah, here I am lecturing about like baseball and basketball, but soccer is the day one private capital shit. I'd love to hear Tim talk about
Yeah.
that.
No, I mean, I'm glad that you segued it over because that's exactly what was in my mind as Seb was going through what he was talking about. That like even on the lower levels, at the grassroots levels, like even if it's not like lump sum huge private equity or investment entering the field, like the biggest I'm sure that you guys have even heard one of the biggest takeaways based on like US soccer in the context of the World Cup is this pay to play system that we have here. So for example, like where I live in the Baltimore area, one of like the best clubs in the whole country is called Bethesda SC, and it's like right outside of DC. To play for Bethesda, you're putting up like close to like 6, 7 grand per season, and that's split between spring and fall. So that in itself, like as you're saying, soccer is the most accessible sport in the world. You need the least number of resources. You literally need some spherical object. That's it. You don't need fucking shoes. You don't need a goal. You don't need anything. And yet, I mean, I can even take it to like my current situation right now. So I'm 29 years old. The only way to really that I've been able to find playing soccer here after living here for a year is to engage in these or these adult intramural teams. And each season I'm paying $100 to play 6, 7 games, like back whenever I like first moved and I was like super poor, that was like a barrier to me, like even getting to play fucking soccer. It's like I'm scouring Facebook groups and whatnot for where like free pickup exists. But even at that level, just going out and finding people to fucking play with, I mean, it's the same deal. Like if I wanted to go play like a 5-on-5 game of basketball right now, I would have no idea how to go about it. Like probably join the Y or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's the stuff is like almost even though as you're saying like the idea of youth sports is sacred. This goes back to the whole idea of like sanctity behind sports. Like if you're not even making it available and accessible to the people who want to engage in this stuff, if you're going to create barriers that already organically like arise within this environment, then what do you think is going to happen whenever you are plunging that much more money into it? Like that gap is only going to grow. I firmly believe that like if we were able to find the best soccer players in this country, we'd be one of the best, but those opportunities aren't available. So it really does it as Corey was saying, like all of this shit is pervasive at every level that you see it at.
Yeah, no, so
There's
said.
just
Oh, go ahead, Corey. Sorry.
there's just no shame anymore among any of the people that have their hands on the keys of, whatever financial mechanizations kind of move the needle on this stuff. Like 150 years ago, like the barons, whether it's from like railroad, some form of transportation, some resource that they took out from directly under our feet, like even those people use their like vast wealth, which is actually kind of dwarfed by the wealth that people have nowadays at the top. They use that to create like public institutions, public libraries. And I think that there was probably maybe a less than like completely, just generous reason for them doing that. Maybe they wanted to control, the type of things that the libraries had or the type of things that the colleges studied or taught or whatever. But at the end of the day, they still built like good institutions. And it doesn't really feel like, I mean, even though people have billions and billions of dollars, like where are you seeing that generous mindset? Like people just donate to NGOs so they get like their own little tax write-off. You know what I mean? And they like put their kid in charge of the NGO or their niece or nephew, and um, the money ultimately kind of comes back to them in a way anyhow. And the nonprofit doesn't really do anything. So there's just no shame, honestly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like a financial arm that runs like in parallel with a nonprofit who's actually like pulling all the strings. Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
glad you mentioned
Yeah.
that, Corey. I saw a tweet similar about that. It's like just like compare John Rockefeller to Peter Thiel or Zuckerberg or Altman. Like these, like Thiel and Zuckerberg, Altman. I mean, they're like using their vast influence and billions, which, like Corey said, dwarfs what Rockefeller and those guys did back in the day to fund all these universities and libraries and parks and museums and things like that. They're using it to just complete total world domination. Every facet of life is controlled by some AI. You don't have any say in what comes into your backyard. If you even think about jumping out of line, these flock cameras are going to track you and your family down. ICE is going to come take, if you're any kind of illegal, ICE is going to come take your ass. I mean, they've really just invested in all that, which, got a lot of people, maybe not the reason people are out of poverty, but it's like things that the middle class, when we built the middle class, like was really important to all that.
Yeah,
Use,
and
go ahead.
on the back of that, the lack of the generosity coupled with this like increase in selfishness. I mean, like there are stories coming out with like talking about Peter Thiel and Vladimir Putin investing tons and tons of money into technology that will extend their lives, you know? I mean, like it can't be more selfish. Like it truly can't.
Seeing this thing about Zuckerberg's like terrified to die, like he has a bunch of shelters and he like
He
keeps
bought that
people
big
around
bunker in
him.
Hawaii or whatever.
Yeah, and he keeps like people around him at all times. And apparently, like if a stranger comes up and tries to say hello to him, like some team just goes and swarms like the area.
There was a story, I think yesterday, that he was on some big yacht and there was like a boat was sinking and like they went right by him and didn't even like help to
Yeah,
pick him
yeah,
up. Yeah.
exactly. They think he thinks it's a trap or something. I mean, these guys. I'm glad Corey brought this up because it's also like the reason why I think people are like, yeah, we should tax the fuck out of these guys. Is because they used to just drop it down on us, in areas like parks and museums and healthcare and hospitals and things to really build the country. But now that the country's built and kind of crumbling, they're like, let's take what we can get.
There used to be like clout attached to doing these things that would
Yeah, yeah,
progress and advance the greater good. Now, couldn't
You,
fucking care
people
less.
used to do good things just for the sake of it being like a good thing to do. And
yeah.
now they don't make money.
Even Corey, when he mentioned it's like, kind of so they can kind of control what's in the libraries and what's being researched. Totally. But it's just like, it doesn't even pale in compare. I'm glad he mentioned that. But these guys couldn't even, I think it's where like all like the get rid of the universities, they're all woke. I think it's kind of just like an astroturf thing. So these guys don't have to pump money into smart people anymore. They can just pump it into Kalshi and shit.
Yeah. Well, I kind of think about like how these guys like I remember there was always a tweet about like it would cost Elon Musk this much to like end hunger right now. I wonder if there's like a thing for like it would cost this much to like fund like free sports for kids or like public sports or like arts in schools.
Yeah,
Fraction
one
of
guy
their
who's got
income.
off
Yeah.
easy on this call, Elon, the
That's I
richest
was
person
about
in
to
the
get on
world.
Elon because
Yeah.
like it's just like these losers like him and Sam Altman with the AI like they don't I feel like they're not even like humans because they don't like engage with like art or sports which is like the things that bring people together like in a community and are like what make us like different than just fucking like robots walking around.
Yeah, like this ties together to like this argument that like empathy is like weak and shit like
Yes,
that, you know? It's like
manosphere
just
bullshit.
yeah, yeah, just like caring for your like, your colleagues, your friends, like your fellow humans. Like that's bullshit. That's woke.
Yeah,
Why?
it's
Why? You're
yeah.
wasting your time. Time is
Yeah.
money, you know?
Oh God. Damn. Yeah, we're just fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're
those guys
fucked.
are just in charge.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Corey. I hadn't really thought of it that way until I saw that tweet and then you talked about it that way. Like even like yeah, go ahead. I'm good.
No, I mean there is I don't know, like obviously we see how like Europe does things, and I am kind of interested in like the divergence of thought between like okay, they have like relegation in their leagues, like any like you could literally start from the bottom of I don't know if Sunday League, I'm sure Tim you could help me out here, but it's like your team there is a very viable path for you to get all the way up into the Premier League. And that's been kind of exploited, I guess, for profit by like Rob
Yeah, like Wrexham
McElhenney,
comes to mind. Yeah,
yeah, the
totally.
Wrexham and stuff. But it's also like, that's fine. Where that diverges from like our train of thought, where it's literally just like, okay, once you're in the club, at all costs, protect the club. Like everybody's arm in arm. We're in a circle. It's like Sparta. We are not letting anybody
Yeah, die for the
even
badge.
come close. Yeah, we're not coming. No one is coming close to this. This is our golden goose right here. Um, and it's just worked. And there's just so little. There's just no. There's so little pressure that can be applied to so many of these things. It's like you rack your brain about how to. Um, is it education? Is it just general like mentality of a group of people, and that doesn't seem to be like the most efficient way of affecting change really, because we've kind of talked about how just public mentality has not really tracked in line. You can't like garner, I don't know, you can't garner like a group of outrage really. It's also divided, but I mean I think more representation in Congress, less lobbying, and that those really those two things. Like we have 350 million people, and we've got basically 50 people that are 100, that are in the Senate, a little bit more in the House to represent 350 million people. It's so easy to manipulate such a small set of people with such a large population. I don't know if that fixes things, but I am like really interested in the European, not welfare state, but it is much more, I don't know. It's not socialist really, but it seems better than what we have here. But there's really no interest in doing that here.
Corey,
And
did
it's
you ever
I
watch the
don't I don't
John
know.
Boy's video about the Reform Party?
Oh, yeah, it was probably like late. I do remember that late at night, like falling asleep,
Yeah,
but
well,
I
he made
can't
like
pull
this
anything from that.
great three-part documentary, and the Reform Party. It was like the best third-party presidential candidacy ever. Like, what's his name, Ross Perot. There was a time with like 6 months to go in the campaign, he was leading. Like, he was gonna like could have easily been the next president. But basically, their whole party was started on like this one guy wrote an article, and it just said, "I'm mad as hell, and I can't take it anymore." And it was just about we need to get everyone who's in Congress out of Congress. We need brand new people who have no political background into to run the nation. So they built like their party with just that idea of everyone in the party has no political background. And they did good for a while. Like Jesse Ventura was won the governor of Minnesota, I think it was, under the Reform Party. And then it just like obviously it completely just erupted. Like Trump got involved. It turned into an absolute nightmare because no one had any political background. They had like no way to like write laws or like any of their things. Like and then they eventually turned themselves into a two-party system where like people are on one side or the other, like Ross Perot and Trump, like divided one against one another. So I've kind of lost like my train of thought here on where I wanted to go with this, but it does just feel
No, yeah,
like we're I don't know, like that's what we needed to happen. Like the overall message of the documentary was like this could have been great, but then it wasn't, and now like where do we go? Like what are we gonna do?
What Corey was kind of getting in there about talking about like, is there any interest for this? And like, yeah, tons of interest. I mean, people who don't have any influence at all. I mean, the people that are in have the ability to change things right now. That's a system that benefits them. So that's why you obviously see, candidates from all the fringes doing well right now because they're coming in saying that this isn't fair, whether what side they're coming in from. They're just saying things aren't fair and let's why I lean left. It's like let's just tax these guys out of oblivion. I mean, things that yeah, like they used to Rockefellers and them. They used to fund hospitals and parks and universities because they're like, oh, don't tax us because we're doing good things already, better than you guys. The government could spend, sure, but now it's like now we're spending it on clones and shit and AI, and
Data
that's what
centers and
yeah.
shit.
Even just going as far as like the maybe not the 1%, but the 2%. Have you seen this thing about like sorority and fraternity rush coaches? Tell me you guys are tapped in on
Oh
this.
God.
No, but that
No.
sounds incredible.
If you're from like Jersey suburbs, Connecticut, like and you're just not like a smart, really smart kid, you go to an SEC school. You can afford there. Your parents, it's somewhat of a prominence. They're too dumb to get into the Big Ten schools. So you go to like Alabama or Ole Miss or something. You see a lot of these Jersey guys end up there. We kind of get the spectrum of the Jersey guys that are at the bottom of the barrel, the people we know. No offense to our Jersey friends, now the ones that ended up in West Virginia, but like
Shout out Suey.
really
Shout out
rich.
Suey.
And also, they're just not coming from rich families, that too. But these really rich families, because like the sorority, the fraternity, thing they're put on such a high pedestal. I saw somewhere like you could pay like a sorority coach like $2,500 to $7,500 and they will like tailor made your 17-year-old's Instagram to be like where they'll pick you, they'll run you through what sorority is like, because this is just like it's what they live for. And they like you see this video of this girl having like a dorm room decorator. I'm trying to think of the right word, but this like 18-year-old in an SEC school paid like
An
$2,000.
interior designer
Woman,
for the college
yeah,
dorm.
interior designer. Thank you. Pay an interior designer. All these freshmen, these girls from really rich places go to these southern schools. It just drops so much money. These people need to be taxed. I just saw people saying we don't tax these guys enough. I'm like, we don't tax them enough either. Like, think of not the humble billionaire, but the humble millionaire. They don't exist anymore. They're not fun. I don't know where they are.
Wouldn't it be just kind of great if we were just like, man, all I really cared about was just being in a fraternity and I need to hire, like, we don't do a podcast where we talk for an hour about like social political issues. We're just worried
Yeah, the
about,
hellscape does not affect these people.
yeah,
I mean,
that's what
these
I'm saying. They're way happier.
yeah, yeah. It's just like, how do you even reach those people? Like, how do you explain class consciousness to people who are like in the 99% pretty much? Like you guys, it's fun now, but once your daddy's law firm gets bankrupted, then what? Then you're out here with us.
You went and talked to like a guy in Pike, he would just call you like a slur and just tell you to
Yeah.
get out of here, probably. Yeah.
Anyway,
It's
I
it's
probably
interesting you brought up that Ross Perot, Luke, because Trump kind of ran the same campaign. He's talking
Well, what
about like,
happened,
you
that's,
know what I
you
mean?
reminded me because Pat
It's like a
Buchanan ended
Trojan
up,
horse, though.
well, they ended up like getting Pat Buchanan ended up being their party nominee, and they were founded like on good ideas. And then this guy was incredibly racist and like was like a Nazi sympathizer, and he ended up being like their final candidate before. Yeah, Tim, thumbs up for Nazi sympathy. He was like their final candidate before the party shut down, and he literally Trump just kind of like took all his ideas and it just worked. Like he was just like I don't know, everything Trump ran on in 2016 was basically what Pat Buchanan did. And I think he had the least amount of votes that a candidate has like ever had that was like on a serious like run. It's really, you should watch the documentary. Anybody listening, John Boy's Secret Base on YouTube. He's like so good, makes great documentaries.
Trojan horse Odyssey. You know what I mean? He did the same
Yeah,
thing.
how should we
But
wrap
yeah, I
this?
don't.
I think Trojan Horse Odyssey is a good way to.
I was like, should we wrap on some like how like usually when I used to write articles that were just about like this is absolute hell and we're all gonna die. I was like, but here's a couple of positive
Yeah,
things
like
Well,
three
let's.
sentences to make you
about
not
like
want
why
to kill
you
yourself
shouldn't go kill
immediately
yourself
after.
right
I
now.
don't think there's. I
I
don't know what we can do.
hold on, let me put the. I had this in case we talked about AI.
Oh, let's go. That is a live view of Charleston, West Virginia
Yeah,
right now.
That's
yeah.
what we're gonna do to all the Dallas
I'm
centers.
gonna get my 2 cents on AI right now, especially as I sit in a children's library.
That's so
Um,
sick.
yeah, I mean the
That
data center shit just being absolute like we used to have like city council meetings about this stuff where you could go and vote this shit down, but now they've just figured out with the data center stuff especially that you could just a year before anything comes down, you just go and fund the county commission or the city council. You bankroll, you get them elected, and then when your thing comes down a year later, there's nobody got it. Like the flock cameras have been a big thing down here in Huntington, and that was all basically like rubber stamped a year ago, but we never got to find out about it until they came to vote this year. And then you have 80 people show up to a public meeting, but the chips have already been stacked where they may.
I'm trying to think of what the name of the Sev persona where he's just on fire in a forest. Like, what could you even call this guy?
It's Thomas Pynchon.
Anyway, yes, from the Hellscape.
Of the yeah, Hellscape, man. That's great. What?
This isn't even like hundreds. This is like 50 years down in our future right now. This is happening in Canada right now.
I know this
Yeah.
is live right now. That's
I'm
Utah,
pretty sure I
think,
got
or
this
like
picture
Oregon.
from
That's
a
Oregon
news
right now.
article about the Canadian wildfire.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so what would be what can we end on a positive note, Sev? Like, is there anything?
I got to change the background.
Okay. Well, I want to ask more about flock cameras because I've obviously seen them in
Uh,
the news, but I don't understand like where they came from or like how this even started.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of just the same as the data centers. That this technology was invented years ago, and they've been slowly rolling because they know how unpopular it would be. They've been kind of rolling them out, like in Elkins, actually. They have these kind of like set up downtown. They're like guised under grant funding for for police protection, and they never really got them operational because they're bullshit technology running on AI. And so they're in Elkins right now, but like they weren't advertised as flock cameras when they voted on them a year ago. Like my mom's on the city council in Elkins, so full disclosure here, but yeah, that's not what they were called when they voted. They were like this. So the data centers, AI, this kind of stuff is just really tuned up behind the scenes. So when people first hear about it, you can't stop it. It's already in some kind of motion behind the scenes to where no amount of public comment or that's why you see people taking them down. That's the only thing you could do at this point because they've already been rubber stamped behind the scenes. The money's already been shifted where it needs to go. But the flock cameras, they basically just an AI database. So anytime you drive, Morgantown is the real hellscape for them of what I've seen, and I've seen some videos. I mean, you guys are going to be surveilled. Huntington, Morgantown, you guys are going to be surveilled to death. I mean, even if you've never committed a crime, you've seen this thing about the kid driving into Michigan to pick up weed from Wisconsin or something. They were basically able to track him on his journey, and they only found it because like if your license plate ends up near like a crime, you're logged like automatically. Even if you're just some grandma driving home from the grocery store, somebody gets popped on the corner, and you drove by 2 minutes before that, license plate gets automatically logged somewhere. So now if there's like another crime, you know, somebody gets beat up in an alley and your car was there, gets logged again. So it's like how many times you were near a crime, and you kind of just get tallied up like that.
And it's probably like AI is monitoring that shit and like
Yeah, it's an AI database. It's the only
and
way it could run and gather that much data. And it's all being stored on like this Mason County data center that's just flooding out the neighborhood over there.
I wonder if there's because I don't even think of AI like every like AI generated image I see I think just looks like absolute shit like and I feel like the technology of it I mean it's probably better for like healthcare and stuff like that but I bet it'd be like so easy for them to just get it wrong and like arrest some grandma for like battery.
Yeah, already happening. Already,
Oh, that's what I was gonna
that's
ask that.
exactly what happened. Some
Yeah.
grandma got arrested or some shit. But the
Yeah.
last thing I'll say, I get people who are smarter than me. They'll tell me why we need some AI, why in healthcare it'll help and research. I'm sure,
I'm so anti-AI,
but the
but
generative picture AI, where any
oh.
schmuck could just create child porn, come on, we can't. It's like we can't have any regulations at all on this.
Yeah.
Just on Twitter, just on X.
On
I
On
mean,
X,
literally, and
everything,
like
everything
for
is child
anyone to
porn.
see.
It
We
really
use
is
our
like
opioid settlement money from
Yeah, and
Purdue to
that's the
buy
other
those.
thing.
It's like I'm sure it's just like
oh
it's like
perfect.
okay, let's just give the money back to these. I'm sure that there's some sort of connection. It's
I'm
not
glad
six
you.
degrees of separation from that bullshit.
Yeah, we could have gave the money to like the families who suffer,
I'm
but
glad.
let's
I'm
just
glad Corey
survey.
mentioned that because as a journalist, you should always be watching the pocketbooks more than like people's morals. That explains a lot more. Yeah. So Pat Morrissey negotiates this sweetheart deal for the opioids. So they already still have to give out billions. They give them to all the counties and the cities, and then some of these cities turn around and just buy more police equipment rather than funding like homeless shelters and recovery centers. They're just
Yeah.
spending it right back on police. So thank you for mentioning that, Corey.
And I should say, disclosure, our pod is sponsored by Reelect Patrick Morrissey campaign for 20 whatever, 20,
Shit,
whatever year.
paperwork.
Yeah.
Live forever.
Yeah. Reelect him in perpetuity. Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe we could
There's
talk
got to be
about
something
beer.
good.
Yeah, Tim, let's talk
Okay,
about
yeah.
beer. You wanted to talk about Modelo, or not Modelo, Michelob.
Yeah, give us something.
Yeah, we can end on beer.
Sure.
Um, we were flowing through some topics, just like trying to find some random bases to touch. And one thing that I was just been thinking about over the last like couple months is just once again going back to this term pervasive. Like, how did Michelob just immediately become like far and above the most popular beer? Like I think the World Cup really kind of like hammered it home after seeing Michelob abs every single day for every single game, like multiple times. So I was just like looked into it a little bit. The biggest thing working in conjunction with this was the fall off of Bud Light, which I think we all remember in 2023, the whole Pride campaign. The one thing that was surprising from the research, though, is that Anheuser-Busch is actually also the maker of Michelob. So they didn't really care about Bud Light falling off as much as they did. The way that the marketers were talking about it is that because I think the general consensus is like, and correct me if you guys see it a different way, but Michelob is almost viewed as like the healthiest of the light beers. I think that's always kind of been its shtick. And so that they kind of just ran with that campaign, like heavily advertising the low carbs, the low calories. But Michelob, I think it was basically a year ago now, they became the most popular beer seller in the country. I think they have like it's up to like 11% of market share now at this point. So, um, a little bit of a lighter topic, just like interesting. I think that it's working though, because I feel like I never loved Michelob, but now it's my number one choice when I go get light beer too. I don't know. What do you guys
Wow.
think about Michelob?
I think to your point of it, they marketing as like the healthy beer. I don't drink it all, so I have no idea if this is like true. But I've seen like I saw in grocery the other day they had Pop Tarts just have like protein Pop Tarts now. Like does I bet that there'll be like a protein beer if there's not already. So I could
Oh
see
yeah.
like you could get Michelob protein beer or some shit like that.
It's the run clubs.
Uh,
That's what I think. All these run clubs that I'm not a part of, but I feel like if you're on
these
social
fucking
media,
run
you
clubs,
see
man.
these run clubs, and these people just kind of meet up and drink afterwards, and they got to be drinking Michelob. But I was thinking, Bud Light could sponsor Inez Cantor and just skyrocket back to number one, and
Oh,
still
That would
support the
be
100%.
trans
great.
community.
100%.
Yeah, great
They have
idea.
those commercials of like the dudes hooping, and then they have like a cooler of Michelob
Hmm.
after. And I'm like, yeah, if I hoop, that's probably what I'm gonna. And I have to have a beer. That's what I'm gonna drink.
Yeah.
Save more
I always
money.
thought of it. It used to just be like a golfer beer. I thought it was like Michelob would be like only if you're playing golf you would drink a Michelob.
And the kicker here, Tim mentioned Anheuser-Busch owning both, and they
Yeah,
don't
I
care
love
about
that.
what happens to trans people or gay people.
Right.
But as long as one goes,
Like, ah, shit,
Yeah,
we gotta get away from that message. It's to the Michelob, the
it's
Michelob.
it's so funny the way corporate. It's like Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers too.
It is
Yeah.
interesting though because like they did buy in 100% on this like, if you are health conscious, this is the beer for you. But I went to my favorite resource on the internet, Reddit, and I went to my favorite subreddit, r/frat. And the even the frat bros, this somebody with a very nuanced piece of data here. Even within the frat community, between 2022 to 2025, Michelob overtook Bud Light, Busch Light, Miller Light, and Hams
Oh,
to become the
Hams.
most popular within frat culture too. So, whatever Michelob is doing, they're doing it right. I'm impressed with them.
That's a good place to end.
And that's it, dude. Beer.
Michelob.
Beer is the only thing we have
Sponsored by
going for us
Michelob.
at this
Hey,
point.
exciting times though. It's fall in West Virginia, about to be fall on the East Coast. It's this is about the time of life that makes you want to go outside and it's actually worth living when you see like
Yeah.
cool air. We all love football. I'm sure you guys are fucking jacked that all the kids are back in Morgantown taking
Yeah,
up.
I
I
was
know you
gonna
guys.
get pissed today
Was
about
this
it.
the week that they all came back?
Yeah, like today, you can kind of see
Mm,
him. But it
mm.
is I like that you're ending on some positivity, Seb, because it is
Really,
like,
the thing that gets me is the weather anymore. I'm like, there's a cool crisp in the air. It's like
oh, the first
Some
crisp
feeling.
like
pumpkin spice
August day.
latte.
Oh,
The
Oh
first
yeah.
time you step out in shorts and a hoodie,
oh,
you know you've made it.
shorts and a hoodie is maybe the best feeling you'll ever
It's the
have in your
best.
life.
Truly. It's like a
And
warm
it's
hug.
sad, and this is all we have.
Yeah,
Definitely
This is
just
yeah.
all we
us
have. We
anymore.
have we have shorts and hoodies and beer.
Sorry,
Peter,
liberal.
until Peter Thiel says you can't make hoodies anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I mean, they'll
No,
take it from us.
Hoodies will be
that,
banned in 10 years.
that money's going towards making sure his cock still works in 60 years.
All right. Cool in there. Thanks, guys. Yeah, let's go. Go get a Michelob, re-elect Patrick Morrissey. We're out. Well, wait, Seb, is Bucktober officially over or is it back on?
Wow, it's toast. Hold on. Do we lose tonight?
They were down like 2-0.
Lockout next season too. Yeah, we
Mm.
didn't even touch the MLB lockout.
Yeah, that'll be Hellscape Part 2.
Oh yeah, 2-0 lost by the Bucks tonight. Skeens lost. I think we've lost um 13 of his last 16 starts.
Jesus Christ. Fuck.
Yeah, it's over. It's over. Man, I don't even feel like threatening you today.
Okay. Yeah, we're just accepting our fate.
Yep.
What's your Corey? What's your win total prediction for WU this year?
8.
Dude, that's what
I
that's kind
like
of where
8.
I'm at.
But I'm hoping for 9. And I'm hoping for, maybe
Hell,
10.
I'm over
Could be
for 11,
11.
12,
Don't even,
16.
I mean, did we talk
You've been
about
watching
12?
these Rich Rod press conferences.
Yeah, I've seen him. It's funny I mean, he is, I'm liking that he's not giving anything up. He's honestly kind of put just like selling us low, I feel like.
Yeah,
He's not hype.
he definitely
Last
feels
year,
like they got something, but in case it goes wrong, he's like, yeah.
yeah,
Smart.
last year I feel like it was a little bit more positive
Mhm.
and it shouldn't have been. And this year, I mean, I kind of like that maybe he's keeping it close to chest.
I'm so pumped for the whiteout first game. It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah.
We haven't had like an exciting season opener in a while, I feel like.
Hmm.
All right.
And
Well,
I
that
mean
was
that
fun,
yeah.
guys. Wait, what
It
were
was
you
good
gonna say,
talking to
Corey?
you.
Yeah, thanks for
I
having
don't need
me.
I don't need to bring up the Gary
You do great
Green
work,
Oh
man.
Penn
yeah.
You
State
do really
season
do.
opener.
It's
Thank
true.
you for all you do. This is the great thing to have out there and use
Yeah,
it.
that is kind of like what can you do in these situations? We can just come together and we can talk about it and maybe we'll figure something out here. Reelect Morrissey. See you guys.